Hey everyone, welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks since we put the last video out where we talked about the crazy bushfire we were having, and it covered that first fire that we had, which is on the west side of us. The following week, which you haven't covered, we've had fires on the eastern side of us and about the same distance, though this didn't feel quite as scary because the wind was pushing it in an easterly direction, which was basically away from us. But these hills that you see behind me, they were ablaze, and especially in the night time when it was dark, we could see the orange of the fires over the range there. So it did get real close, and it's been a bit of a struggle around here. I think we're up to about 50 houses that have been lost over the last couple of weeks in this neck of the woods. So we're very, very thankful that the worst we have had is a lot of heat that have killed some things, some really smoky air, and just been super dry around here. So we're very thankful. Our community has really banded together to support those that weren't as lucky as us, and also everyone's just opened their doors to the people affected, and it's been a really tragic thing to happen, but the vibes in town have been really good as everyone has banded together, which is what you get in small towns. So I thought I'll give you a little update about what's the state of things around here at the moment. This is the greenhouse that you've seen me be in lots and lots and lots of times, and from the last video you probably are quite aware that this is the main thing that we lost during the terrible winds that came with the fire weather. So all that's remaining in here now are the things that were growing out of the beds, and I've propped up on a ladder my bucket pumpkin here because it's growing up through the vines, and we've actually got a pumpkin that's growing. So this little fella's doing awesome. There's some more flowers that have popped up. Quite a few flowers have come off this, but not very many female flowers. So very excited about this one. I'll give him a little hammock to sit in soon, so the weight of it isn't too much for the vine to carry. We're definitely at the tail end of the tomatoes through here. Some of them are looking pretty tragic because they went through some really terrible weather, and I definitely haven't picked those ones to sell at the stand. And then over here we've got lots and lots and lots of capsicums growing, or bell peppers I think you guys in America call them. The capsicums, there's heaps of them, but they're only really small, so I'm gonna have to Google what the go is with that because none of them have really grown that large. We've got the cucumber growing on the vines just here at the start, and that's been really prolific, although I think it's probably reached the end of its time now. And lastly, we've got our eggplant going through here. Now this is the first time we've grown this eggplant that is this white colour. Usually eggplant that we have here in Australia is that really dark purple, almost black colour. But these ones really show you why they were called eggplants in the beginning, because with the whiteness there, they definitely look like eggs on a tree. So this is the new tunnel that we put up not long ago. I'm about 90% of the way of moving things that existed from the old greenhouse into this space, but we've reached that time of the year where it's actually, we've just started autumn, so there's a lot of things that it's just not the time to be growing new things at the moment. I think that I'm probably settling up to finish the growing season through this sort of autumn, mid-autumn area, and put the stand away over the winter months, and just focus on setting up for the new season. So this was our first growing season, which has gone super well, and I think we've learnt a lot from it. And with the addition of this and a whole bunch of other things that we're doing around here, I think that the next season is going to be even bigger and better. But I've got lots and lots of space for seedlings in here, but I haven't taken off on planting them all yet because I think it's just not the right time of year for a lot of them. We're sort of going through our seeds and trying to check out what's useful to grow in the cooler months, and a lot of it is your leafy stuff, and not really the cute stuff that we can put into the stand. But maybe when we figure out a way of presenting more leafy things, we might figure out a way to do it, but that's just something that's bubbling away in the back of the brain. So down here we've got our tomatoes that are growing. Now granted, like I said, it is the tail end of the season, but we planted them thinking, well, we'll give it a crack. I think that it'll stay warm enough in here for a little while longer that they should have a chance to grow up to full height and see if we can get something out of them. We've got our seedlings growing in a stand here, things that will make it in time. And we've got another bed over the other side that we've just brought in, but I haven't filled it yet. I think I might wait until the new season starts to get that cranking. But yeah, most of what we've got going on in here is about making sure we're weighing it down so the wind can't take it up and throw it over the back fence. But so far so good, and the structures that we put in place that we covered in the last video have held up really, really well. So this zone here outside of the tunnel is the first makings of flower farm. Again, this season is really a trial run, so it's definitely not the size we want to build it to. In fact, it's probably going to end up being about at least 5 times the size of this. But this was the first time that we could give it a crack and see how we go without getting too too deep in the money hole over setting it up just in case it didn't work out. In front of me here are all the dahlias that were given to us by a local flower farmer, and you can see that they're just starting to flower now, which is super exciting. Over here we've got a bunch of sunflowers. We've got the large ones, and then we've got some teddies at the front. They're looking a bit poor now. They've sort of passed their time. They had a real heyday maybe a week or so ago, and they were looking stunning, but they've sort of passed that point. We had some trouble with the ants eating them, but I'm not sure. We'll figure out something to do with that next time so we don't have such a bad run with them, but they did look really awesome. Next one, we've got the zinnias popping off. I feel like this is really cool and they're awesome and really pretty, and we definitely need to plant about 10 times as many if we want to make arrangements and stuff out of them. But this was cool just to see it pop off, and it's just nice for our benefit at the moment. Behind me we've got some marigolds that have just started flowering now, and there's a few other bits and bobs that have just been planted down the end here that haven't really taken off so much, so we'll see how they go over the season. But it's been really ridiculous whether or not super awesome for starting off new plants. So they've struggled a little bit here. There's definitely some things we've planted that just died because the heat smashed them, even with decent watering. But yeah, so this is the flower farm section. We initially, I think if you go back into the video where we talked about building this area, we used the ram board down under the mulch, and it's done so well at keeping the weeds out. Like, we haven't had any problems with weeds going through this area at all, so really highly recommend. It's about 130 bucks a roll, and one roll did more than this area, so it's not the cheapest method, but I tell you what, it's probably one of the least back-breaking methods for weed suppression. And because it's one big roll and not just lots of little boxes, there was no crevices for weeds to grow up through, so made life super easy. So highly recommend if you've got the budget for it. Between all the fires and being back at full-time work, which is about 50 hours a week, I've been a little bit slow at pulling the trigger on getting materials sorted for the inside of the barn, but I will show you something that I have been able to do, so come with me, I'll take you in. I've installed this attic ladder to get us up to the mezzanine floor. I'm pretty excited. I haven't actually ever dealt with having a metal frame that I've dealt with building with myself. Definitely site managed some other people working with metal frames, but never had to deal with it myself. So getting this to work and adding in the timber beams and all that sort of stuff was a little bit intimidating to begin with. I've been off the tools for years and years and years, so it's not what I do all day, every day, physically building things myself, but I'm pretty stoked with how this turned out. Now this is going to really help when we're getting to the point of installing the flooring up here, because it's going to give us much better access than trying to get off all the ladders all the time. So especially on the first little bit, once we've got that in place, this will be so much better for installing things. Now, the reason we installed this attic ladder, which is basically just a pull down ladder that we can put back up again, instead of putting a normal staircase in here, is that the staircase, because of the height of the ceiling and the regs that we need to stick to, and like, we probably could have not followed regs in here, but it just would feel off, and sometimes when your stairs are built slightly off, that's when people get injuries, because they are expecting regular staircase spacings for when they take the steps. So if the steps aren't as per the regs, generally people end up tripping over themselves because it's not what their muscle memory is used to. So the reason that we didn't go with that was because it was just going to take up so much space. We would have had to take up at least 3 meters of ground space and a metre width of that length. So basically that whole section through here out to about here, this whole area would have been not useful because we were building stairs over the top of it. We talked about maybe the idea of putting some storage under the staircase, but in the end we just felt like we were losing too much for it. And to get up and down, how much space do we need? Once we've got it set up there or how we want it, we're not going to be carrying things up and down all the time. So it'll just be a little sneaky hidey hole to get up and just a bit of fun up there. The pumpkins have pretty much reached the end of their growth season. I'll tell you what, when we harvest these, I'm going to be so happy to be able to mow through here because I feel like that's a good hidey hole for snakes, and I'm always just a little bit worried about it, even though I've never seen any in there. You can see over the back here, we've got 3 of the large Atlantic dill pumpkins that ended up growing, and then we've got lots of little Halloween pumpkins at the front here, a few different sort of shapes and sizes going on there. So some of them are ready to be picked, some of them are not quite there yet, so I'm just going to wait a little bit and see if we can't harvest them all at the same time. So this is our original veggie patch area, and we'll probably keep using it for the foreseeable future, but this is our original one that we got with the house, and obviously if you've seen the old videos, we've gutted it a few times and restarted it a few times. At the moment we have tons of zucchini growing through here, both yellow and green. These patches here are a mix of a whole bunch of different things, and it's kind of fun to watch it grow like this. I'm a little bit wary of snakes because it is a little bit harder to see under everything, but we've got a mix of different types of pumpkins still going on in there. We've got a few different types of squash. We've got the apple cucumbers growing through here, the nasturtiums are growing through here. Up the end we've got rock melons, and they've done really well for the first time. I think we've got about 6 of them growing there at the minute, and we're just waiting for them to do their final little bit of ripening up before they're ready to pick. But yeah, lots going on. We've got some beans growing on over here. Up the back we've got a bunch of other things. We've got tromboncini, which is that long squash, and some cucumbers. We grew some corn, but we were never really happy with how it was, so we haven't really eaten any of that. There's some Swiss chard over there. So lots going on over here, and it's been pretty prolific, but I am keen to get to the end of the season so I can really rip up all that grass at the end without disturbing the veggie growth too much, because yeah, it's just entangled itself pretty thoroughly in there, and I find when I rip it out at this point that it does make the things around it stop growing very well. So just holding off, but yeah, it's getting a little bit overwhelming down the back there. The fig trees got to the point again where the figs are just starting to ripen up. We've got thousands of them on there, which is pretty similar to how the earlier part of the season was, and then we ran out of them and then they all grew back again. But these ones are definitely quite a bit smaller than the ones from the first harvest in the season. The lemons are a little bit the same, they're all coming through a little bit smaller, but maybe that's just how things grow in this second half of the season. Not sure, first time we've really been tracking it thoroughly, but we're definitely at the point where we're battling the birds for the figs again, but I think we'll probably end up turning most of these into jam rather than selling them just as individual figs like we did earlier in the season, just because it feels a little bit underwhelming when they're that small, but I think it'll be good for the jam. The stall's been going really well for us. It's certainly quietened down a little bit since the Christmas rush that we had at the start when we first put it out, but we've got consistent sales, which is really, really awesome. And we're just, I guess this season we're learning a lot about what people like, what people don't like. We've been able to sneak in a few things that people have never seen before. The cucamelons have been probably the most awesome thing that people have been like, what are these? I've never seen them before, and then really be keen to purchase them off us. So I think we'll get more into that next season and actually not just sell the seedlings, but actually grow them and sell the cucamelons as fruit themselves next year. Tomatoes are always a big goer. The zucchini has been consistently a pretty good seller. The apple cucumbers have gone really well, mostly because you can't get them in shops here. I think I've never seen them in the shops, so that's been really exciting in addition to regular cucumbers. But yeah, been pretty good. Well, I hope everyone's enjoyed this little one, a check-in about what's going on around these parts. If you don't know what I'm talking about with all the fires we've been dealing with around here, and the back there looks pretty normal to you, perhaps you want to check out this video that we did last that will explain a little bit more about how we were hit by catastrophic bushfire weather. I'm waffling on now. You should check that out, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.